Cell phone footage captured the immediate aftermath of a tragic plane crash that scattered fire and debris across a neighborhood in Philadelphia on Friday. According to Associated Press, the video showed a large piece of wreckage from the plane resting in a parking lot while police and fire crews rushed to secure the area. A medical transport jet with a child patient, her mother and 4 others aboard crashed into a Philadelphia neighborhood shortly after takeoff Friday evening, exploding in a fireball that engulfed several homes. All 6 people aboard were from Mexico. The child had been treated in Philadelphia for a life-threatening condition and was being transported home to Mexico, according to Shai Gold, Jet Rescue Air Ambulance spokesperson. The flight's final destination was Tijuana after a stop in Missouri. The crash happened less than 3 miles, 4.8 kilometers, from northeast Philadelphia Airport, which primarily serves business jets and charter flights. The plane, a Learjet 55, quickly disappeared from radar after taking off from the airport at 6:06 p.m. and climbing to an altitude of 1,600 feet. It was registered to a company operating as Med Jets, according to the flight tracking website FlightAware. The crash came just 2 days after the deadliest U.S. air disaster in a generation. On Wednesday night, an American Airlines jet carrying 60 passengers and 4 crew members collided in midair in Washington, D.C., with an Army helicopter carrying 3 soldiers. There were no survivors in that crash. Tulsi Gabbard, President Donald Trump's pick to be Director of National Intelligence, faced sharp criticism from Democrats and Republicans alike Thursday during a fiery confirmation hearing focused on her past comments sympathetic to Russia, a meeting with Syria's now-deposed leader and her past support for government leaker Edward Snowden. According to Associated Press, Gabbard started her hearing by telling lawmakers that big changes are needed to address years of failures of America's intelligence service. She said too often intelligence has been false or politicized, leading to wars, foreign policy failures and the misuse of espionage. And she said those lapses have continued as the U.S. faces renewed threats from Russia and China. The bottom line is this must end. President Trump's re-election is a clear mandate from the American people to break this cycle of failure and the weaponization and politicization of the intelligence community, Gabbard told the Senate Intelligence Committee. Gabbard, a lieutenant colonel in the National Guard who served 2 tours in the Middle East, has alarmed some intelligence and national security officials in the US and elsewhere with comments sympathetic to Russia and government leaker Edward Snowden, as well as her past opposition to a critical surveillance program.
Thank you. Just as I suspect that some of my Democratic colleagues might criticize Ms. Gabbard's statements and actions since she saw the light and left the Democratic Party. But I sincerely hope that no one today will impugn Ms. Gabbard's patriotism and integrity.
And I appreciate that, and I want to thank Ms. Gabbard for meeting with me and having the candid conversation we did on the issues. Unfortunately, I have to...
I'll confess that those views may be somewhat unconventional, but look at where conventional thinking has got us. Maybe Washington could use a little more unconventional thinking. And I'm sure that the Office of the Director of National Intelligence could use more unconventional thinking. Ms. Gabbard, I submit that if confirmed, the measure of your success will largely depend on whether you can return the ODNI to its original size, scope, and mission.
I continue to have significant concerns about your judgment and your qualifications to meet the standards set by law. It also leads me to question whether you can develop the trust necessary to give our allies confidence that they can share their most sensitive intelligence with us. Make no mistake about it. If they stop sharing that intelligence, the United States will be less safe.
The bottom line is this must end. President Trump's re-election is a clear mandate from the American people to break this cycle of failure, end the weaponization and politicization of the intelligence community, and begin to restore trust in those who've been charged with the critical task of securing our nation. Those who oppose my nomination imply that I am loyal to something or someone other than God, my own conscience, and the Constitution of the United States, accusing me of being Trump's puppet, Putin's puppet, Assad's puppet, a guru's puppet, Modi's puppet, not recognizing the absurdity of simultaneously being the puppet of 5 different puppet masters. The fact is, what truly unsettles my political opponents is I refuse to be their puppet. I have no love for Assad or Gaddafi or any dictator.
Have you ever knowingly met with any members, leaders, or affiliates of Hezbollah?
No, and it is an absurd accusation. I went with former Congressman Dennis Kucinich, who had been there many times before and who had met with Assad before. A number of topics were covered and discussed, and to directly answer your question, yes, I asked him tough questions about his own regime's actions, the use of chemical weapons and the brutal tactics that were being used against his own people.
In no way does Russia get a pass in either your mind or your heart, or in any policy recommendation you would make or not make.
Senator, I'm offended by the question because my sole focus, commitment, and responsibility is about our own nation, our own security, and the interests of the American people.
Is Edward Snowden a traitor to the United States of America? That is not a hard question to answer when the stakes are this high.
Senator, as someone who has
your
served
answer,
in
yes
uniform,
or no, is Edward Snowden a traitor to the United States of America?
as someone who has worn our uniform
in
combat, I understand how critical our national security is.
Apparently you don't. It's up to all of us. We're the Senate. We get to decide whether we're going to confirm this nominee. Obviously, we didn't select this nominee. But can't we do better than somebody who doesn't believe in 702? Can't we believe that somebody who can't answer whether Snowden was a traitor 5 times today?